Hey y'all, welcome back for another watercolor journal idea video. I'm Shayna Cersei. I'm so excited to paint with you today. Today we're going to be diving into some, sorry about the camera shake. I am going to be practicing some gradient washes, but I'm also going to talk a little bit more about value. I know in the last video, in the avocado video, we touched on the basics of value, and it's so interesting that value can be really difficult for some folks to grasp, especially when you're new to art and painting in general, and understanding kind of the different aspects or nuances of value. So I'm hoping that this video will be helpful. We're going to do some gradient washes. You can see I taped out my journal here. So I'm going to be doing 4 long gradient washes where we start from lightest or darkest to lightest. I'm going to do 4 different colors, and I'm going to talk you through the idea of value in different colors, and different colors having the same value, and then values within. And then we're going to do some doodling on top. So we're going to do some ink and wash because I just love that. And I do this exercise a lot in some in-person classes where we're just learning how to do gradient washes and create different values. And at the end, it's like we just have these beautiful like gradient wash shapes like this. And I encourage people, I was like, let's cut them up and you can doodle on them and then you can make bookmarks out of them, or so just so you have something when you're done. But these are going to stay in my sketchbook. All right, so with that being said, I'm working in a Bauhong sketchbook or journal. I'm using my core paints. I have a size 10 round velvet touch brush. I have some water and a paper towel. I'm going to be using 4 different colors, and they are all going to be deep saturated colors. And I'll show you later on why, because all of these are going to have the same or similar values. So hopefully you can see that over there. This is dioxazine purple, and I'm getting it in its like darkest form here. You can see. I'm also going to pull out quinacridone magenta, super saturated. So if you're working from pan paints or hard, pan paints that are dried, one of the best ways to get a really saturated color from your pans without having to do lots and lots of scrubbing is wet them with a generous amount of water, like a bunch of drops of water on top, and let it sit for a few minutes. It really softens up the color so you can extract a lot of color right at one time. This is phthalo blue. Spell phthalo, Phthalo. A lot of people have a hard time with that one. And then my last color will be sap green, one of my favorite core colors. There we go. All right, so these are the 4 colors I'm going to put in here, and we're going to do gradient washes with all of them. So let me rinse off my brush. My water is super dirty already. I would recommend having a clean and a dirty water jar if you can. I have dirtied both of mine, but I'm going to make it work. I'm just grabbing a paper towel here. All right, so let's start with dioxazine purple. Loading up my brush really generously, so you can see I'm like swapping it all around. I'm pressing it down, really filling up the belly of the brush, which is the part below the tip. Inside those bristles, I want them all to have lots and lots of dioxazine purple. I'm going to paint this way today so that I'm not, or actually, I'm going to paint this way today. I'm going to paint from left to right, so that way I'm not putting my hand on top of already painted things. I don't know why I just told you that or said it out loud. I just needed to tell myself that. Okay, so we're going to start with dioxazine purple. Really generous amount, really nice and juicy. At the top, and I'm going to start working my way down, and then I'm going to rinse off my brush. So I just rinsed it in the water. I'm sorry you can't see that. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. You can see my very dirty water. Rinse out my brush and just kind of wipe it on the edge. Then I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to come up about a third of the way into the color. And I let it dry a little bit because I was talking, and I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to rinse off my brush again, and then I'm going to come up a third of the way into like that color. So never going fully back up on the first pass. I might later, but, and then rinse my brush off again, come down, rinse my brush off completely, and then finish it off. So we have this nice gradient. And if it is still a little too not as smooth as you want it, I've rinsed off my brush and now I have a damp brush, not super wet. And I'm going to come back up to the top and just bring things down a little. I'm using very gentle pressure. You do have to do this while everything is still wet and kind of an even dampness. I just rinsed off my brush again, dabbed it, so it's just damp, and I'm just using gentle pressure. And there we go. We have a nice gradient wash of colors. Now, if it gets too far down, sorry for all my tinking on my glass here, and you need to lift out color, you can go in the opposite direction and just lift out some color if it gets too dark at the bottom. And this does take practice. A lot of times folks will have their darker gradient will come down really, really far. And you only get a little bit of room of a lighter value. So this does take practice to get kind of an even amount all the way down. So don't be afraid to do it multiple times. You can do it with the same color multiple times. All right, I'm going to move on to Quatacridone and Magenta. Same thing. And then I'm hopefully going to use a little camera magic to show you something about value. So basically this is the darkest value of this color, and it goes down to medium values all the way to light values. Rinsing my brush, coming back up a little ways, trying not to introduce a lot of water. You don't want puddles of water. So you can see this dark value didn't really come down as far as I wanted it to. Everything is still generously wet. So I'm just going to come back up to the top and kind of do the whole thing again. If things start to dry too much, you're going to have to let it dry completely and do the whole process on top of what you've already done. So you can see I went back up a few times just to pull a little more color down. This color doesn't want to move as fast or quickly as the dioxazine purple, but I'm not introducing a lot more water. All right, so we have another color. I dripped some water on there. It's okay, I'm going to not freak out about it. This is just practice. All right, we're going to move on to our next color, do the same thing. There are other ways you can do this as well, using wet on wet. It helps the color move a little more quickly and smoothly. I'm doing wet on dry, so dry paper with wet paint. But if you wet the paper first, I have like a lot of blue that just won't come out of my brush. There we go. You can wet the paper first and then start the process from top to bottom. Here we go. And again, so I have nothing new on my brush. It's just damp. There's no real water on it. I'm going to gently kind of go from the top. Everything is still generously wet. It hasn't started to dry yet. That's the benefits of working on 100% cotton paper. It does take a little bit longer to dry. There we go. And last color we are going to work with is sap green. Just want to make sure I have enough of that out there. All right. So in this, after I pick up this initial color, I'm not picking up any more paint. I'm only picking up water. Okay. I think on the Quatacridone Magenta was the only one I added a little bit more paint at the top because it just, I didn't start out dark enough. And you can see this one, look here. This is all almost the same value. I got a little carried away. I wasn't paying attention. I'm going to get much lighter down here. But then I need to change this. So gentle pressure, pulling this part down a little bit further so I get a little bit darker up here at the top. Rinsing my brush off. I just have a damp brush, no extra paint, using the paint that's already on here. There we go. That's a little better. So there are our gradient washes. And now I talked about value, and someone asked, like, so is value a lighter color or darker color? And color doesn't always have anything to do with it. So every color has a range of values within it. And some have broader ranges and more narrow ranges. So a light color like a light yellow is going to have a very narrow range of value. You can only make it so dark. And then deeper saturated colors like these have a really wide range of value. You can make them super dark, but also super, super light. So I hope that makes sense. All right, I'm going to do a little camera magic. I'm going to change the video to black and white now to demonstrate value. So hopefully you're seeing this in black and white. And you can see when you turn something black and white, this is the value range. The darkness or lightness, devoid of any color, has nothing to do with the color itself, but the dark, you can see these all look very similar or the same. If you were to just see this picture in black and white, you can't tell which color is the blue, the green, the magenta, or the purple. And they all look relatively the same throughout. They have the same value scale. So that's what we mean by value. So it has nothing to do necessarily with the color, although types of paints and colors influence the range of value. So I hope that isn't too confusing and that helps you see things. Sometimes what can be really helpful when you're trying to paint something, especially from a photograph, is to do, and you're getting really hung up on colors, but everything looks kind of flat and you're not sure why. Often it's because your values are all medium values, are all very similar, and you don't have any contrast. And you have the right colors, but not the right value of the color. So kind of everything is in this range, in the medium value range, but you haven't put in the super darkest color or much lighter colors, lighter values of the colors. So what can be really helpful is if you're working from a photograph is to turn that photograph into black and white and really study it for the values. And that's called a value study. And a lot of folks will even paint things in black and white to really understand this is super dark, this is medium, this is light, and all of the ranges in between. All right, so now the fun part where we get to take off the tape and we see these fun little strips. And we're going to doodle on them with some ink. We're going to do some, I think, some floral nature doodles on them. All right, so join me back in 2 seconds after this dries. All right, we're back. I've removed the tape. Everything is dry. Look at these beautiful little value scales of each of these colors. So satisfying. Let's do some doodling. So I have a micron pen. These are archival ink pens. This is a size 3, whatever, this is what size I could find right now. Whatever size works for you. I'm just gonna clip this back down over here. And you know, we don't need to see the pen. Well, I guess we'll just leave the angle the way it is. All right, so I'm just gonna start working my way through these with different floral doodles, maybe some mushrooms or something like that. And these can be a lot of fun. So let's start with, oh gosh, I'm freezing. Okay, I'm just gonna start with some small flowers and vines. Gonna sneak our way up. And you can doodle whatever you want on these. And you could use, you don't have to use pen. You could use darker values of, at least on the lighter value part, of the same color or different colors on top. So you could keep it monochromatic and just paint this dark value down here, which would be really kind of a cool exercise as well to see how they interact. And values make up contrast, and contrast can be really satisfying when you're creating poppy, contrasty images. At least I really love high contrast, meaning there's a big range of values. I I really like high contrast paintings. But if you want to communicate something soft and subtle, you're going to have low contrast often. I hope I'm not getting too technical on y'all, but I just love this stuff. And when I was first starting on my art journey many, many years ago, when I was in high school and in college, some of these concepts were just really, I don't know, for my young brain, I was like, I couldn't be bothered to really understand and learn them. I was a much more intuitive painter and artist. I was like, I'll just do what looks nice. I don't really need to know why. And later in life, I realized like knowing the why and being able to really control it makes life so much easier. So I don't know if any beginners out there, if when you're really brand new and it seems really technical, there's a lot of technical stuff going on, it can feel really overwhelming. And that is totally normal. You are not alone. You are not silly. You are not like less than. It is part of the process. And if you don't want to listen to any of the technical stuff I have to say, that is totally fine. And just paint because you love to paint. That is the most important part. And a lot of folks, they feel a lot of pressure to be a quote unquote artist in every sense of the word. And that you are an artist. Just make art for the love of art because you like to make things that make you feel good when you look at them, or make you feel something when you look at them. All right, let's move on. I just did leaves over here. Let's do some mushrooms. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to do a big base down here. Sorry, I'm not doing a lot of instructing, mostly just, hey, if you want to stick around and watch me doodle and see how I draw things, go for it. But I'm not giving you lots of instruction on this one. Sorry. But sometimes it's helpful just to watch others. I find that helpful. A little mushroom here. Let's do a big taller one over here. I'm not going to break the frame on these. I'm going to let them go out of frame. So we did another doodle one where we actually painted on top of things and we broke the frame. We did little square and I've started keeping a little journal, like a sketchbook journal by my bed with just a marker, like a thin marker like this. And I've been doing a lot of doodling and it's been like really satisfying. Lots of just patterning like before bed and it's been great. Let's see, what else can I add to this? I'm going to do some just tall blades of grass over here. And you can get as into these and fill them up as much as you want, or make them as minimal as you want. And you can also, so I'm using black down here, but up here, if you wanted to introduce like a light, a gel pen. Let me see, I have one here. I don't use these that often. This is a Jelly Roll pen in white. You could, let's see. So the white shows up really nice on the really dark things. So let's do some like hanging. Or you could use bleed proof white if you feel like painting, or gouache on top. Just do mixed media. Do what feels good. what you have time and patience for. And sometimes these things are just a lot of fun because you don't have a plan and you just keep going, building simple patterns and simple shapes. Oh, I like that. That's fun. The white is great. I'll add some more of that on some of the other ones. All right, this one I'm going to do some tall, reedy, like, what am I thinking? Like cylindrical flowers. And you can see I'm not, what is this, like maybe lupine? I'm really bad. Like, I love flowers. I love them. I love looking at them and learning the names, but I quickly forget a lot about them. I'm so sorry. I am not your botanical guru. But I love them. I wish I was better at them, or I could be if I just wanted to devote more time to them, but I'd rather paint them. All right, so let's do another one over here. I'm just hoping I moved and replanted peonies and sorry, my brain is fogging. Peonies and hydrangea last year. And last year was like the dormant year for my hydrangea. They needed one more year. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they bloom this year. I love hydrangea. They're so beautiful. But I do not have a green thumb. But I think I read the directions. I looked up stuff online. I think they should have a beautiful year this year. All right, so let's add some more. Let's add some leaves to this one. We'll do I'm just going to draw a So, what are your all favorite flowers to paint? If you have a favorite, if you've started painting flowers yet. Or what are your favorite flowers just to look at? Some people just, they absolutely love X flower. They can't wait for them to bloom. They plant them in their garden. How many of you here are allergic to flowers and hate spring? Spring can be brutal here in the Northeast. I'm sure in other places too for folks with allergies. All right, and last but not least, let's do some white on this green one. What am I going to do here? I'm going to do some big I'm just going to do big, like, leafy flowers like this. Hopefully I'll move this over so you can see that a little better. The white is a little harder to see, so I'm probably going to add some black to some of it as well. Probably would have been really good on that purple. I'm just doing kind of messy, doodly, cup-shaped flowers. Almost kind of magnolia-y, but not quite. And some stems. All right, so I did some white at the top. I'm going to do some leaves and little, like, other things at the bottom. Let's do some of these bigger leaves because we'll fill up the space more quickly. And then I'm going to add a small element to it. So let's do some something like this over here, like these little doodly ones, but I'm going to do like a big branch of them. Almost like, or a little ball of them. Almost like, what is that one? Aluminium? No. Something like that. All y'all out there who are gardeners are like cursing me out right now. Not cursing me out. I'm sure you're not. Probably just shaking your head going, oh my goodness, she's a lost cause. My mom is a wonderful gardener. All right, so much fun. And you can just keep going and creating more and more texture. And just fill up your day with fun little journal doodles. Let's put some spots on this guy too. And I'm trying to think, I want to add some white, I think, to the purple one to see how that looks on top. What should I add up there? Could do more leaves or more flowers. Maybe I'll just do the same thing in the opposite direction. So I'll do the same type of leaves like this, kind of like I did over here. I guess I did that. Well, hopefully you all got something out of this. I know I did a little technical teaching and a whole lot of doodling with no teaching, so maybe they balance themselves out. Thank you so much for watching. For another watercolor journal idea, keep practicing in your journals, keep painting, be brave. Don't be afraid to mess up your journal. Your journal is just for you. I've heard a lot of people say that they're so glad that I said that I gave them permission to let it just be just for you. You don't have to worry about displaying it, hanging it on a wall. Just be brave, have fun, paint things that you like to paint, and learn lots. It's kind of what I say to my kids every day. Have fun, learn lots. All right. Thank you so much. I'm Shayna Searcy. I am so grateful you're here. Don't forget to check out the description for links to supplies and materials. Check me out on Instagram, where I just post other, mostly stuff from my YouTube channel, but also some other images. You can see my dog on there once in a while in my stories. And I think that's it. All right. Thank you all for painting with me today. Take care and happy painting.